Okay, in this video, a couple of things I have compiled. One is the step-by-step in the design thinking. So there will be step 1 to 6, in which I'm going to illustrate in a video or a webinar that a talk that I've given back in year 2020 as part of a PMI event. And in this event, I was talking about how to raise your project management game by using design thinking methods or techniques. And I have given a very clear and concise case study, 2 case studies. One is in the food and beverage industry, the other one is in construction. So bear in mind that this video is quite lengthy. It is giving a high level. At the same time, I go in depth for certain areas for you to understand and how to use design thinking very effectively to up your game by 47% or more in your project management success. First step of design thinking, combining with Agile project management, that's shaping up the user persona and wants. A second step, which is related to defining the issues. Okay, I've reached part 3 now. Part 3 is about ideation. Step number 4 is about building a prototype and MVP. Okay, part number 5 is about this test and feedback loop. So we've reached step number 6 now. Step number 6 is actually launching the final product. So if you are interested, stay tuned as I bring you along my journey by going through step 1 to 6, where I am going to give you examples, the do's and don'ts, where we can actually tap on by using the design thinking methods and then improving your project management success. Tonight, learning takeaways. I like to identify the difference between project management and design thinking. Okay, understanding the design thinking concepts, mindset, how we can inject innovativeness, human-centered approach into our project management to up our game. And design thinking concepts, if you want to think about in retrospect, it is focusing on user outcome. Yeah, user first, customer. Using team collaborative approach, basically bringing teams together to talk, discuss, brainstorm, and come up with storyboards and processes, mapping them out, coming up with options, and then building a prototype, which is towards achieving a minimum viable product or MVP, right? So I like to quote an example first. I bring about this example from the genius Mr. Dorst on 2011. He mentioned 3 things: the what thing, okay, plus the how working principles lead to results, which is observed. So this is, he called it a deduction. And then came about the difference with induction, in which what thing plus the how working principle leads to value instead. Okay, let me quote an example. As you can see the picture on the left, right? It's a shoe with a can opener embedded at below the sole of the shoe. Okay, so this means if we apply here, the what thing we're trying to achieve here is actually the shoe itself, okay? And the how thing, what are we trying to achieve the shoe here is to protect the feet. How it enables us to walk and run, yeah, and to do a lot of things because we can move about with the shoe. And finally, what kind of value that we bring that is inspiring is an additional feature, which is the can opener at the sole of the shoe. So this is one of the examples of design thinking, whereby we put usability of the product that makes it special and unique. Yeah, this is the missing link, I think, in project management, that we have lost the inspiration or the desire to do better in our job, just because every project comes with huge problems and tons of issues and risks and stuff like that we have to handle, the change management, that we forgot that if we put user in mind, right, it could actually solve a lot of problems and eliminate all these issues along the way in the project. Yeah. So design thinking and agile, right? Design thinking and agile. So this is the buzz going on around in the industry. So what exactly is the difference here? So in retrospect, you can think about design thinking is how do we solve, how do we understand problems first? Yeah, and instead the agile is actually the method or how to bring about a solution, how to execute the solution to the user or to the customer. Yeah. So do we use either of them, or do we actually can combine them for better result? So I'll move to the next slide. Okay, so this slide is about design thinking, how it humanizes data science. Okay, it starts with step 1, 2, 6, 6, right? The first one is defining the hypothesis or decision to either test or predict, right? Second one, you gather the data and you actually analyze them, prepare them, build into a proper schema, tables, analysis, do a lot of massaging of the data, visualizing the data, and then you build analytic models out of it, and then you evaluate whether it actually fits the initial requirements, right? Design thinking is very close. However, if you see the difference, it empathizes with the user first. It understands the problems from the user perspective, and then taking this data by asking a lot of questions, interviews, and then you gather the data together, and then you build a model of understanding, putting the puzzles together, why the user is undergoing certain pain points or challenges within a certain product or a services or something like that. They envision it, do a lot of brainstorming, yeah, and create journey maps, mapping all these stakeholders together, putting them in the same room, and then talk about it. And then there's something called, during this interview, you put them into storyboards. Yeah, and then from here you can actually create groups, and then ideate the variables together. Basically, coming up with different ideas based on certain scenarios, how to solve the problem. So the focus is still very clear here, which is the user problem. Yeah, we're trying to solve the user issues. And then you actually come up with prototypes. You actually build a model out of it. It could be physical, it could be system, or using app. Okay, in which I'm going to show you quite an example for the case study one later on, and then you test to learn it. Now, if I apply to the project management side, and you can actually see mapping of the phases that we go through a waterfall model, you can actually see that during the business requirements, we actually do interviews as well. But however, we are usually given, let's say, a 2 weeks time frame to finish up the business requirements. When we interview, we look at blueprints, previous information from the data. Example like enterprise resource planning, we look at previous systems, how the user pain points are, where they are, and how you try to map all these things into a gap analysis documentation, whereby you actually frame up the difference between the existing data that they have or existing system that they use against what we are trying to offer them. And in this manner, we will mediate with the designers to come up with the viable solution a new solution for the customer. And thereafter, we will implement the solution out, and then we do testing. We call it user acceptance testing, or the UAT, for the user to accept the solution that we have finally produced. But in this manner, right, what kind of areas that we can see in difference between our normal project management? It could be agile, lean, it could be waterfall methods, doesn't matter. The difference is focusing on the users and iterative, where you come back from the very beginning down to the testing level, and you actually go back and ensure that this is what customer actually wants. Yeah. Okay, so I'd like to invite you to again think a little bit out of the box, out of the ordinary, out of the context that we are so used to in terms of project management, and the difference in the project management strategy against the design thinking strategy. So we are usually constrained by three elements, which is the STC. I'm sure you all know: scope, time, and cost. So, and these three constraints within the EVM, we have to produce the solution for the customer. And most of the time, we deliver using different methodologies, yeah, depending on your industry or your the methodologies that you want to use in your projects. And then you develop the requirements to come up with the final product, test it out, deploy, and actually you go live with the customer. Design thinking strategy, okay, as Rachel has introduced, there are a couple of steps here. First one is empathizing with the user, okay, collecting data, defining what the problems are, problem areas, and then come up with different ideas. Then you continue with designing, prototype, and finally test it out with the user. Now, as you can see here, I've put here focus on customer experience at the very beginning. Yeah, so you collect feedback, interactions, all this revolving multiple stakeholders. Not only that, and with the end user in mind. And in the design, prototype, and testing phase, you can see I put there test driving and fine tuning, providing feedback, getting them, and then test driving again, fine tuning, keep on doing this. And this one continuously is a loop, yeah, until you achieve the MVP that the customer desires. So this one minimizes a lot of risk in terms of many many changes or change requests that comes in. It could be a VO, it could be a free of charge kind of change that they request. Okay, it could be user dissatisfaction, maybe stakeholders change along the way, and then when you constantly fine tune and get feedback and then test drive again, even if the stakeholders change along the process or along the project phase, it minimizes the risk, right? Because even if the new one comes into place, in which I have personally experienced before, whereby during these phases of between requirements, design, and develop, this particular key user went for maternity leave, and after 3 months coming back, the designs could have changed. During the maternity period, another person comes in and then give different ideas. Oh, I want this instead, I want to change. So it becomes a change order, change processes comes in, and then it lengthens and delays the project and complicates the project phase. Yeah. So in this manner, right, design thinking invites us to be more flexible and agile. Yeah. So most important here is the strategies for design thinking embedding in our project management is to mind map our project plan. Yeah. So some of the ideas here is to use creative thinking hats. There are 6 of them, and I will illustrate in the subsequent slides. Apart from that, do a lot of prototyping, whereby you build a small model or mini version of the MVP. Yeah, and then you start describing how a project success to the customer, to the stakeholders, and invite the right stakeholders end user perspectives is being taken care of, and then you bring the right decision makers into the room and involve them in the matter of building and framing up the product to a final level. Okay, in terms of project timeline, how does it look like then? Actually, I'm a very great advocate of lessons learned. So in my book, I've also illustrated the importance of using lessons learned. From usually we do collection of lessons along the way in the project. We usually don't have time to document. What we do, we wait for the end of the project and then we start documenting. Oh, we've done this part, we have taken this risk, we faced this problem, a funding problem, change management problem, issues with customer, issues with our teams, blah blah blah, right? But if you actually implement the lessons learned back to the original phase, whereby the next project you use the lessons learned from the previous project that is quite similar in nature with the new project that you're going to embark on, this will lessen the burden or the pain points from a project management point of view, and then you can actually implement by observing, keep learning, yeah, from here, and then you react, and then you assess again, you observe some more, and then you act again. So along the way, we are talking about keep on repeating and ensuring user point of view is very much taken care of. User pain points are resolved. The solution is actually meeting the requirements of your project. Yeah. Okay. Next one is the 6 perspective. Remember the 6 creative thinking hats that I talked about? Okay, we're going to illustrate here. So one of it is, I'll start with the white one. So with facts and information that we collect from the user or the customer, yeah, and we build this, making sure that it is within cost. We build the viable product, making sure that it is within our organizational needs, yeah, and we make sure that it is also aesthetics, yeah. The second creative thinking hat is the red one, which touches on the feelings and emotions of the user using it. Remember the shoe with the bottle cap opener, yeah. So we actually put the mindset of a user into the product when we build it, yeah. It has to be beautiful, it has to be useful, it has to be purposeful, multi-purpose maybe, and it has to be aesthetically attractive to be able to ship or actually market it up, yeah. So products, the innovation is in this, especially the red hat. So when you're putting a black hat, you actually put into consideration the critical judgment. Example, making sure when I do this project or I attend the tender or RFP, I make sure I don't lose. Making sure that I don't put the project or the project team members into a legal dispute. Always constantly making sure the contract is properly signed with the customer to protect the company's interests. All these are critical judgment under the black hat. The yellow hat is positive judgment, meaning to say we are positive, looking forward to the project being a successful instead of a failure. Now, if you have a positive judgment, you actually invite positivity within your team members as well. So you invite them to be collaborative, talk about it, discuss about the risks and issues, coming up with the risk logs, making sure that all risks are mitigated along the way, and ensure that team members' well-being are taken care of. Example, if they work remotely or they have to physically travel to the customer's place, there's something like that. So when you look into the positive judgment, you're actually taking care of your team, you're taking care of your stakeholders' interests, you're taking care of your organizational needs, and you're taking care of making sure the project is successful at the end. Right? The green thinking hat is alternatives and learning, meaning to say you put into the consideration that the team continues to learn, yeah, continues to progress, yeah, taking into consideration improvements along the way. You learn about the user or the customer that you're serving in the project, yeah. And also it involves like eco, that means you go green, you actually in construction line you can actually apply this. So the green hat invites you to be taking care of our environment when we actually do construction, because construction is usually demolition, or you cut down trees to make way for the development of the maybe university or the shopping malls, right? So green hat invites you to be eco, to also give back to the environment when we do our projects. Yeah, the last hat is blue color, is seeing the big picture. So this is part of the design thinking that invites all project managers to be inclusive, to be thinking bigger than what you are doing in this project. Oh, I'm just a PM, I don't have a say, I don't have much influence. That's not true. When you actually ask why is this project TCV is this much, has it covered areas such as change management that could possibly come in, having considered the customer is in this nature, examples like this. Yeah, so the blue hat invites the PM to be thinking on a big picture. It covers the cost, the funding, yeah, the scope itself. It has to be clear, or it has to be inclusive as well, to allow for flexibility of change of scope. It could encompass the timeline. Yeah, if you have to develop within 6 months, do you allow for 8 months? Do you allow for 4 months? That kind of thing. So the big picture covers from end to end in project management. Yeah. So the steps in the design thinking, as you already know, introduced by Rachel, is empathy, yeah, defining it, ideate the ideas out, designing, prototype, and then testing. Okay, so now I'm going to invite you to come with me and study this case study in which I have chosen this F&B case, whereby the food manufacturer is trying to come up with ideas how to solve a business issue or business problem in a particular scenario where we are facing now. Example, so he's going to use the empathy on user issue, defining the problem, and ideate creative solution. So he will start empathizing on the user issue. What is the current predicament during MCO? Okay, how do I get my ordered food when you're stuck at home? Yeah, and then I don't want to waste too much time because I have to log in remotely, online meetings in between. I don't have much time, but I still want to order food. Yeah, and then how do I collect my food without any contact with humans? Because during the MCO lockdown, we are supposed to stay safe and stay distant. How can I pay conveniently without queuing up? Yeah. How can I avoid paying for delivery charges? So I probably have an option to pick up my food myself. So collect the food myself. And what if I'm mobile most of the time? So if you use defining the problem statement in project management and come up with creative solution, this is these are some of the solutions that I've thought of. So what is the current predicament during MCO? I have a high demand. I see the high demand for convenience and the hygienic food supply, where people do not want to cook. Yeah. So how do I get ordered food to send to me or from the store without much waiting time? So I can order. I place an order online and I can pick up within 20 minutes, yeah, at the store. And I don't want to have contact with humans, so I can take from a safe window by the store, or I drive through, right? And then how do I pay conveniently? I can pay online straight away with a checkout, yeah. And how do I avoid delivery charges? I can just self-collect. And what if I'm mobile most of the time? If I want to jump from one meetings to another, yeah, so I don't have time to go to a restaurant and sit down and actually order. All these are waiting time, so I can actually self-collect. So this one is a case study whereby I can actually order and collect with human contact. So either I can opt for a delivery to my home where I am, or I can actually opt for self-collect. I can go to the shop and actually collect fast without waiting time. I've already paid online and I don't have to contact with any human beings. Okay, so the other option is food delivery. So I've had some videos here. I just show you. Do you know that we have food delivery via drones in Cyberjaya? If you don't, let me play the video for you.
Daripada ordering sampai makanan itu sampai ke tempat destinasi dalam masa bawah 12 minit. Buat percubaan dulu, bila percubaan tu dah berjaya dan baru kita open pada public dan kita akan tambah jenis makanan. Maknanya kita dah berjaya percubaan tu. Setakat ni kita dalam, mungkin kita charge dalam satu delivery tu ataupun satu trip kita charge dalam RM2.5. So agak affordable dan kita sebenarnya it's not so much pada harga, so much on the time frame, maknanya lebih cepat daripada yang conventional rider hantar. Dan kita pun dah develop drone ni, maknanya dalam masa cuaca yang tidak begitu hujan boleh fly, tapi bukan hujan lebat lah.
Is in Milton Keynes, whereby they're using robots to where you are.
The delivery robots are amazing.
I must have used the service 50, 60 times.
When I haven't got time to go out, if I'm working from home, it's great to have lunch.
I can order what I want, what I need, and actually just sit back and track my robot to my front door.
They can bring the delivery in a very short time.
Quite often I end up working from home. Sometimes you don't have the time to go out and get a pint of milk so that you can actually have a cup of tea while you're on your calls. I find Starship really great to be able to just fit in with my lifestyle. It means I can really focus in on doing my work.
My wife, amazingly, has donated a kidney so that I can receive a kidney. With both of us out of action and unable to drive, it's been brilliant just being able to pop onto the app, order the things you need, without having to trouble anybody else, without having to walk to the shop.
We trust that they always get here because there's never been a problem. Every time we've ordered something, it's always arrived promptly.
I had guests coming over from Birmingham. When I was putting everything together, I realised I'd forgotten the yogurt. Robots to the rescue, and the robots were here before the guests came.
If I do a big shop, half my food just goes to waste. So I just buy small amounts, and actually this allows me to do it.
Less cars, less pollution, it's green and it's good for the environment.
We are very proud of these robots. We've got videos and we show them around to people.
Thank you, Mr. Robot.
I don't have to take time off work, I don't have to go to the shops.
Just knowing that whatever you need is just a few clicks away on an app and it arrives outside your house, so why would anybody not use it?
It's turned into where it's becoming a necessity, an essential service for people, where it's now famous.
Another example of no human contact. Okay, and my solution for this, for no human contact F&B, is using an app with a barcode, and actually invite the user to self-collect, right? Okay, so from the empathy, ideate, and also design, empathy, coming to the design phase. So I, as Rachel mentioned, the starting of collecting the data, and then thinking about putting stories together so that it makes sense in identifying patterns of habits, be a problem solver and be an agent of change. This is some of the elements in design phase, and after that you can actually storyboard by having mind mapping, sketching, brainstorming to come up with a viable product. So coming back to the case study 1, I have a solution here in which I used a very a free app to do this, so that I can actually present this idea to someone, or even my team members and even my management, to produce this as a project to solve the common issue, problem issue of MCO. You want to order food, safe, you don't have to have human contacts. You probably have to just self-collect, go and collect within 10 minutes to 20 minutes, and you don't even have to park your car. You can come back with hygienic and convenient food. So in this app, right, I will encourage the user to try to use. So example, you want to order and collect, so I will just pick collect, because you can also pick delivery. So I pick collect. After that, I enter my address where I am, and then I can click PJ search, right? And then I intend to order this food instead of the spaghetti or the pasta. I will order the nasi lemak. So I will click here, and from here I would like to order a cappuccino, 12 ringgit. Yeah, because if I can also program this to get the user to click on a certain thing that I want, because it's a storyboard, right? So when I create it, there are a couple of options. This is where you map it, but in this manner I want to demonstrate a certain path, right? So the certain part, if the user click anywhere else, it doesn't work, right? But you have to click cappuccino. So it comes about with 1 drink 12 ringgit and 1 meal is 23 ringgit. So it comes about to 35 ringgit. After that, I check out, right? I enter my credit card details, and then I will be given a barcode, in which when I travel to the shop as a drive-through window, I will just scan this barcode onto this particular box. I can open the door and I can enjoy my food. If I open other doors, I scan my barcode there, it won't work. It has to be that particular thing. So this is where you can actually drive the user to use this app to demonstrate them a MVP. Yeah. So this is my food, all right, and I can actually take away easily in easily the takeaway packaging. Yeah. All right. So at the behind, you can see I have drawn up myself the storyboards. Yeah, it looks for pre-order and collect, exactly what you saw in the app just now. I snapshot it and I actually program it for a user to go through one path, and this is where you can actually create your own storyboard later on in your project. This will better communicate with the user and tell them, show them and demonstrate to them that this is to-be product. Yeah, it is somewhat to-be product. It can be further fine-tuned if they don't like it, if they don't like the UI, or they don't like certain options there, you can actually properly modify. And after this, when your mapping is clear, you can actually execute very clearly, and you can even communicate with your developers very clearly what to do and what to appear. So exactly when you test it out with the user will have very minimal dissatisfaction. Yeah, user satisfaction is high. Yeah. Okay, then we can build a prototype. That's the last one before you test it out. So once you build a prototype, like I showed you just now, the app, right? The user can test it out again and again to see the loop of options when they go through certain path. So each one is planned out properly and mapped out. Okay. So bear in mind, this is not a one bookshop thingy when your user. It could be multiple rounds to make sure that user is satisfaction is highly achieved. Yeah. Okay. Then case study 2, I'd like to bring you to a construction example. How do we use and design thinking in our construction project management game? Yeah. So usually in construction line, what kind of challenges do we face? Most of the time, it could be very high cost just to build a MVP or a small model or end product, right? Because by the time when you build an end product, it could be aesthetically not what the user wanted or the customer ordered, yeah, initially. So with this high cost, other than that, what else? A maybe long timeline, yeah. It could be taking 3 years just to see a final product. This is why in Malaysia, most of the time when you order a home or order a house or order a apartment, you actually see a showroom first. Yeah, when you go into a showroom, you can see all these things. Wow, it's beautiful. But when you actually see the final product, what you can see is just a layout because everything is empty inside, unless you buy the showroom yourself, right? So these are some of the issues that we face in construction line and in project management. What kind of challenges do we face? Could be many many change orders, variation orders from the customer. Along the way, they see that, oh, instead of 36 floors, now I want to cut down because of budget. I want to only make a 20 floor high rise. Yeah. So these are some of the issues that you face. So by using the critical thinking hats from design thinking, you can actually apply in the project management in the construction industry in this manner. Let me illustrate. The first one is a creative white hat. So we can firstly get the numbers right. Okay, weigh the costs and the benefits when you're using the design thinking into your project management. Present it in an MPV model, yeah, and then present it to your management so that you are able to stay relevant in terms of when the numbers change. It could be economic climate change. It could be during this lockdown. Yeah. So how will your numbers change then? Yeah. So you have to put in a creative white thinking hat. Yeah. So the other thinking hat is the red one, in which I talked about, how it feels when you look at a product. Is it beautiful? Is it purposeful? Is it useful? Is it able to wow a customer when they walk in or they buy the apartment, and so on and so forth? Is it marketable? Yeah. So all this is called the red creative hat. Yeah. So creative black hat is looking into the critical judgment, yeah, and this includes the building has to be user friendly, handicap users friendly as well, reduce accidents, making sure that I don't get the company into legal dispute, and if I do, what do I do? Do I have my lawyers ready? Example like this. Yeah? Yellow hat is positioning the company and the technology driven to create best business value into our projects, and that includes innovation as well. So thinking of a lot of places where I give an example of using yellow hat is opportunities to grow with the building. Example like you can see the 1U, yeah, 1U at the Bandar Utama. So it keeps growing, right? This developer keeps growing the business and the layout. They keep buying lands and they keep developing. As compared to maybe Mid Valley, you can see them growing as well. Yeah, different aspects, different phase, different pace. Yeah, so this is called creative yellow hat. So we must think ahead and be able to envision where our projects will bring, yeah, additional value to the company. Creative green hat, example like go green, eco, giving back to the society, giving back to our community. Yeah. So when you build a high rise, is it removing people from their lives just to make way for your building to be there? Yeah. Is it safe for people or the community surrounding your building, right? And whether it is how to say, takes care of the community when they travel around your building just to enter your building. It could be a high rise, it could be a shopping mall, it could be a university, right? So all these things you have to take care by using a creative green hat. Yeah. Apart from that, the last one is blue hat. Okay, in terms of total productivity of resources for cost advantage, there are 5 M's that you can take care of. That is the not 5C, yeah, 5M: material, machines, the methods used, manpower put in, the resources, and also the money. Yeah. All right, so we've reached almost the end, and I hope I have given some thoughts, given some ideas and tips, right, on how and able to convince you actually design thinking elements is also very valuable in your project management, and how it can actually bring your project management game to another level, because you're different from the rest of your team members. Yeah, and when you introduce design thinking, it creates innovativeness in people. It creates the excitement. It creates the inquisitiveness, yeah, to do more than what you are taught to do or given a limited space to do, right? But because of design thinking, you can actually invite people to do things innovatively, differently, by using the 6 creative thinking hats. Yeah. You can actually share with me if you have any problem solving that you might need in your projects, and you want to, or you're very convinced now that you want to try using design thinking into your project management. You can actually send me your idea, and I can actually give you fresh perspectives to look at, or actually we can brainstorm together to see how you can improve using this design thinking in your project management, which areas to look at, which areas not to look at, what kind of risks that you foresee, and able to innovate better by having a vision of what you want to achieve for your company, for your organization, for your business. Yeah. So do connect with me. I have more to share. One last sharing is from my banking experience. I've headed a project delivery and PMO department before, with almost 20 PMs under my care, and under a lot of pressure, a lot of commitment, we have run about 47 projects at the same time, simultaneously. And the process here is we embedded design thinking into our projects. How it works is that what we do is, first we do a run. We have a project, yeah, with a project charter, funding, you name it, stakeholders are all illustrated there. What they wanted to do is embark on a certain journey to produce a product for the bank, right? It could be a commercial department, it could be commercial banking, it could be for individual users. Yeah. So one example is what we wanted to create, a banking savings account for junior junior, yeah. So these juniors is like under 12, yeah. So under 12, you are not able to open an account by yourself. You have to have parents. And how we can encourage the juniors to save, yeah, and creatively use and monitor how the juniors use the money when they actually retrieve or withdraw from their account. So with this, right, we don't simply just embark on the project. What we do is we actually do customer survey first. We send certain individuals to different branches, and we conduct surveys asking parents how they feel. If we were to have this product, how would they receive in the market? Yeah. So after that, we collect the data, come back to the main branch. We actually brainstorm together with different groups, so different stakeholders like marketing department, like a PR department, like we involve the product team, of course, and then the designers, and then the business units where they sit together. We can actually brainstorm the data and come up with storyboards how to improve them. And only then, when we present this idea to the CEO, he will pick which one that is viable to be launched. And after that, only the project charter can be executed into a proper project management plan, and engage a PM with the team members allocated and assigned. And then there is a time frame to fulfill, usually less than 6 months, 3 to 6 months, we have to launch the product. Then we have to involve different users to test them. We collect them from different branches so that it is fair. Nationwide, we have to launch nationwide, so we have to collect them. They don't have to physically travel to HQ to test it out. It can be remotely done. This is one of the apps that I used to create a MVP, if you may. This is a model of how the apps could be for the parents to use for their juniors to save. Yeah. So this is one of the examples I can quote from my past experience.
There is actually a question, Queenie.
Design thinking
or evolve.
Evolve user experience is more related to business analysis, and further breaking down is the data science. Okay. So data sciences actually talk about data mostly. Yeah. So collection of data, empirically, we come up with models, different models. So models means you have different scenarios, how to look at the data, process it, and then to be used for your purpose. Yeah. So in design thinking, instead, actually look at more humans. So like I said just now, I gave an example whereby we conduct studies first. We conduct surveys, we collect this data, and same like data science, we actually build a model around it, a user story to meet that desired requirements from the user that we have collected. So as you say, business analysis is just one of the roles that actually analyze the data that is collected. However, you still have to involve other parties like designers. Yeah, you can involve people who are actually very cost sensitive. So they will talk about, oh, if you do this, then it's going to cost us this much. Do you think it's feasible? That kind of thing. So these people are critical. Okay, business analysis business analysts usually they process the data, they just analyze it, and then they present the result. Is this what you want, right? But they don't have this critical thinking of how, and they cannot imagine where you are coming from as a project manager, because you take care of the customer's interest or the end user interest, right? So you have to guide them and direct them. Business analysts, you have to process this data because our intention is this, right? So you have to guide them towards what you want. Yeah, and I hope I have answered your question, Preeti.
Thank you, Queenie. Thank you, Preeti. I hope that answered your questions. I need to go back to the chat window to see if there's any.
Sure.
Any more questions?
Maybe you can open to the floor as well. They can unmute.
Yep, correct.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Could you show your idea, how your idea is applied in precision controls from Robert Gunn?
How my idea is applied to manufacturing.
Precision controls.
Oh, precision control. Okay. Okay, precision control, if I'm not mistaken, because I've also implemented ERP in manufacturing environment. So precision control is computerized. So basically you enter data and you actually fix the configuration to be precisely where the robots or the machines will operate according to the precise calculation to produce the product. Yeah. So in design thinking, before you enter the data, that's where you collect the data. You be more human-centric to collect data from what you want before you enter into the machines for precision control. Okay, could you show how your ideas is applied to precision control? Okay, Robert, I hope I have helped answer the question. Otherwise, we can have coffee and we can further discuss on this, right? Then I'll go to Preeti again. Another query comes in mind when time and schedule constraint is tight. Is this scenario normally we are given lots of requirements irrespective of the need for it? As the client is afraid post deadline, we might change cost. In this scenario, the iterative elicitation or empathy won't be effective. Yeah, correct. As mentioned, right, just now, owner of the requirement is not recorded or gone on maternity. How do we handle the scenario like this as fine-tuned time is not available? Okay, what I did was the key user went on the maternity leave, like I mentioned. So another key user came into the picture and he or she, I can't remember, pretty much changed the direction of the initial key user. And this one has created a change management. However, I have to mention that it was during the requirements study stage. So during the requirements, you are supposed to collect requirements at that point, and it can or allowed to change at that point. You can still allow for changes, and there is no VO required unless you're at the development stage, whereby the product is pretty much there or the software is being configured as per the requirements that's already signed off by the first key user. Yeah, so that's the difference, and design thinking comes in at the very beginning stage, and then during the ideation, all the ideas come in where you collect, right, and then you generate a gap document, right? So you can actually highlight to the user, and these are the gaps that we found. Are you okay with it? And then these are what we're gonna be changing it for the new system. So if this is again emphasize on user and then a sign off. So if there's any changes, users already signed off, then you can create a change order, put them in the change management process, whereby it can be presented to the team or the steering for decision making. So not sure if fine-tuning, how do we handle this? So fine-tune time, you can actually request, okay, if there's changes, you can actually ask for a delay because this change is out of scope, example, then you can ask for a different timeline to just handle this change, in which I can still remember when I was doing the ERP, many changes are being highlighted during the design phase itself, which is quite late. Yeah. So after sign off, then you can actually say that this already been agreed upon. This is your signature, and change management will kick in because we are at the design stage or the development stage. So I hope I already answered your question. Preeti?